I'll be getting into some really deep stuff. Right now, my advice is just don't take notes, stay present, absorb everything, and then later on we'll have the video on YouTube, the replay. I'll give it to all you guys. You could go back and you could re-review. Okay? So today I'm going to speak to you guys about how to attract women by being your authentic self. And out of all the different principles, all the different things that we talk about here inside of the accelerator, in my opinion, authenticity is really the core of all of it. It's the heart of the matter. And it's the most important. If you guys get this one concept down, you will have the results that you want. With women, more importantly though, you'll be truly fulfilled and truly happy with yourself, right? With your dating life. So there's a quote I want to start with by Leonardo da Vinci, which is, perfection isn't when you can't add anything else, but when you can't take away anything. Okay, so perfection isn't when there's nothing more to add, but when there's nothing more to take away. And this is going to tie into what we're going to talk about here with authenticity. So getting to a point where you guys are truly authentic with women, I see that there's 3 pillars to it. The first pillar is what I call removing the duplicity. Okay, who here knows what I mean by duplicity or has an idea? Not you. Anybody else? Go ahead.
Yeah, I guess just like putting on the front to try to get the outcome you want with women or in any situation.
Yeah, spot on. The duplicity that I am referring to here is the sense that you are one person at home, when you're by yourself, when you're in private, you're like the secret self, and then there is a different self that you're putting out in front of beautiful women. And this also obviously ties into maybe business and your career, with friends. There's different selves that you show in different situations. But then deep down, there's like a deeper, like real self, an authentic self. And that duplicity, although it feels safe to you, and it's something that I did for all my life, is I was 2 different people. I was one person in my coaching business, one person deep down in secret behind closed doors. I was one person with women, I was one person deep down. I was one person with my family, then one person deep down. And that duplicity, although it feels safe and although it can get you some results, ultimately it will always feel like an inner battle. It will always feel stressful. It will always feel like you're a fraud, like you're an imposter, like there's something that you're hiding. And there won't be this ease and this effortlessness behind your connections with women, behind your relationships with women. Who feels like there's a bit of duplicity in their interactions with women? And there's zero judgment here. Yeah, cool. We'll dive into specifically how that plays out in a second, but that's the first thing I want you guys to consider, is the duplicity is, I am one person at home, I am another person in my interactions with women, okay? So the idea here is, how can we be the same person all the time? How can we remove the duplicity and be one person when you're in front of a beautiful woman and the same person at home, okay? Now, the reason there is this duplicity is because there's parts of you guys that you are deeply ashamed of, or that you're scared of, or that you're judging about yourself. And becoming authentic with women, the first step is understanding what are those parts that I'm deeply ashamed of, that I'm scared of, that I'm maybe feeling some guilt around, feeling some apathy around. Like there's these different sides to us. And how could we embody our whole selves around beautiful women without needing to hide and put things under the rug, right? To protect certain parts of us. Like, how could we just be our complete selves? Okay, so question for everybody here. What is something about you that you feel you need to hide when you're in front of a beautiful woman? What is a side to you, a character trait, maybe an emotion that comes up for you often that you feel like you need to hide, that causes and creates this like duplicity? All right, the next pillar. So the next pillar to being truly authentic with women is being as you are. So being as you are. Now, what I mean by being as you are is not making yourself bigger or smaller than you are in the moment. Okay, so if you're truly connected with yourself, right, we all can think back to the week 1 principle of emotional awareness. And you're aware of what you feel in the moment. Maybe you feel some nervousness, you feel some shame, you feel some sadness, you feel some attraction. You're not trying to make yourself bigger than that, to overemphasize who you are, or to try to like overcompensate for what you're feeling. But you're also not trying to do that in reverse, which is shrink yourself, make yourself small, make yourself really like not seen, not noticeable, okay? So being as you are means meeting yourself and relaxing into yourself based on where you're at right now in this moment. And it doesn't necessarily mean like, oh my God, I'm so vulnerable and like fucking like crying out all your emotions. That's not what this means. It means just meeting yourself where you're at internally, just relaxing into yourself and being that way around a woman, right? Like you guys do an approach, not trying to like posture, but also not trying to shrink and like play it safe, just being as you are, okay? Now, what stops you from being as you are 2 things. One is different strategies you're using to try to get an outcome from the girl. So you're in the interaction, you have an outcome in mind. I want to get her to give me her number. I want to lock this Instagram in. I want to get this instant date. I want to get her to think that I'm this really cool, attractive guy. And then you go up into your head, you leave yourself. So the opposite of being as you are is leaving yourself. It's betraying yourself, going up into your head and then strategizing, who do you need to be for her to like me? And that again will feel safe, just like duplicity feels safe, but it's inauthentic. And more so than that, it is you basically leaving your own self. Okay? Does that make sense? So the first thing is the strategies. How do I go up into my head and strategize to get that outcome? To get my agenda that I want from her. The second thing is just unconscious reactionary behaviors. And I see all of you guys have those behaviors, right? Things that we've worked on the calls. Is what are the unconscious behaviors that are not you? They're not your behaviors. They're conditioned behaviors that are learned from traumas that you've used to kind of protect yourself. So it could be like a looking down. It could be looking up to think. It could be crossing the arms. It could be hands in the pockets. It could be turning away. It could be not speaking boldly and loudly and assertively, like whatever that is, right? All of you guys have certain tendencies, like reactionary behaviors that come up under tension, under pressure, when you're in front of like your 10, that cause you to react, that are not you. These are not authentic behaviors. These are learned behaviors, okay? So question, in your interactions with women, who wants to share what are some things that you're doing that are not you, that are not actually authentic to you? Pillar number 3, so think about it. You guys have now removed the duplicity. You're able to like be vulnerable in the sense that I mean like sharing yourself with women, sharing these deeper parts of yourself. You've removed the trying to be bigger or smaller than you are and you're just being as you are. The final piece is like the deepest. And it's something that comes as a byproduct of the first 2, which is trusting your senses. So trusting your senses, okay? All of us have this intuition that if we tap into it, and if we listen to it, and if we follow it, will get us everything we've ever wanted, right? All the perfect things to say are all in here. All the moves you need to make to get the girl, they're all in here. They're not up here, because that's strategy. They're in here. They're in your heart, they're in your gut, they're even in your cock. They're like in the body. And trusting your senses means trusting your sight, your smell, your taste, all of these senses to do what feels good for you, to do and say what feels good for you when you're in front of the girl that you want to talk to. Not relying on some fucking pickup strategy or on what some coach said to you, what some YouTube video said, but like really trusting what feels good for you. That's the essence of being a natural with women. Like guys that have not had any issues with women, they trust their own senses. Okay? In every moment. Not like, oh, I feel nervous and then you go back to strategizing. But in every moment, you're trusting what feels good for you. Right? If that means maybe you pull back a little bit, you pull back a little bit. So if you have no sense of self and you're like, just like what is everybody feeling? Like, let me just make sure everybody's happy, then yes, that's detrimental to your success, to your confidence. What I'm talking about here is a little bit different. This is the opposite of what you're saying, which is self-awareness. It's not I'm hyper in tune with everybody else. It's I'm hyper in tune with myself, with my own senses, with my own intuition, with my own desires and my own wants and my needs. And it's funny because actually as a byproduct of that, when you're very, very connected with yourself, you actually naturally become more empathetic. You naturally become more connected with everybody else. Because the agenda is gone from your head, and there is this depth of awareness that both is you feeling what you're feeling, but also feeling what others are feeling too. It's like a natural thing that just happens. Okay? Yeah. So on that note of trusting your senses, there is actually something I'm going to add to this. It's a phenomenon that happens as you guys deepen into this kind of authenticity, this connectedness with yourself, which is what I call special sight. Never talked about this before. Special sight. So special sight is something that happens when you remove all the programming, or a good chunk of it that is not yours. You remove the overthinking. You become so present to the moment that it's almost like a childlike innocence comes out of you. Like things like when you guys were really young, when you were 3 years old, 4 years old, 5 years old, there was a special sight that you had. There's a way that you saw things, you saw flowers, you saw the world, you saw art, you saw people that was so unique to you. There's no part of you that was like, well, what does that person think? And what does that person want me to see here? It was just like, I saw things the way I saw things. There's like a pure trust in your own intuition. And that's what you guys actually are able to come back to when you go deep enough with this work, is you get to this special sight. And the special sight applies to everything. Everything, right? You're able to see the clothes that you want to wear and choose them because it feels good for you. Not because someone on Instagram said this or that, but because it feels good for me, right? Like I'm going for this girl because I feel good about this. I'm saying this because I feel good about this. And that's the highest level, is where you guys, you remove the duplicity, you're able to just be open, unguarded, right? Not tense, like totally open, totally free. You're connected with yourself. You're not trying to be bigger or smaller. You're being as you are. And you're also trusting your senses. And you're doing and saying everything that you want. Now, the thing I want to leave you guys with before I have Mike come up and kind of talk more on his perspective on this is that all of us are here because we want to realize our full potential, right? Correct? Everybody here wants to become the highest version of themselves. I know I'm like a ridiculously ambitious person, like ridiculously, in everything, in business, in my health, in dating, in spirituality, my relationship with God, in every area of my life. Like I'm just going for the top. I've always been that way, especially recently. I've like went as far as I can. But one of the biggest epiphanies I had is that becoming the best version of yourself isn't about adding more. It's not. It's about taking everything away that's not you and becoming authentic. So I want to leave you guys with that, which is that initial quote by Leo da Vinci, which is, perfection isn't when there's nothing else to add, but when there's nothing else to take away. Okay? Thanks, guys.